It's a fine load there now. Try not to fall down this yoke. Very nice. Boy. Anyways, not sure what this sounds like because the camera's in a case, so it's probably blocks the microphone or something. I'm not sure. Have it on my head, as you can see. Everyone probably looking at me like I'm a fucking weirdo. So my name is Brian, and I drive a tipper truck in Ireland. I'm only been driving a few months, fairly new to it all. Been driving that digger a couple of months as well, fairly new to that. I usually have a lad there beside me that's always, well, he was just there a few minutes ago, and he's always kind of supervising, making sure everything's alright. So I'm in a Volvo FM 400 in 2007. She's a manual box, 3/3 with split box, high and low. Automatic tailboard, as you do. It's got a handbrake there as well. It kind of stops you going down the hills and all that shit. It's got air conditioning as well. I couldn't figure out how to work it there, but the mechanic told me. The tipping gear is here, right under the handbrake, kinda, and obviously the PTO there is with it as well. Now a lot of these, the last couple of the exact same truck I drove before, the tipping gear would be down, kinda down by the door, down by where the door would be, down on the side, down by the bottom of the seat, like. So it's nice to have it there now, to be honest. Now you can hear the indicator clicking like mental there, as if one of the bulbs is gone, but it's not. The indicators in the back were changed to those ones like the Audis where they kind of just move across. I don't know what they're called, but that's what happened anyway. The lorry is very messy. I'm a bin there, bit of water, got my hand sanitizer. That's kind of it. I do the same kind of runs every day. Nine times out of 10 when I come out of that junction there's nothing coming to the right, but when I'm halfway around the turn, something comes down around that hill, and then they're slowed down to a snail's pace, you know. lads will be driving up the back of me as if I'm gonna just, start going 100 kilometers an hour or something in this yoke. Afraid that's not how it works. So someone asked me recently about getting your license to drive a rigid truck, and they couldn't understand how you actually go about it, like, and what's the kind of process, and getting your CPC and all that kind of stuff. So off the top of my head, on the way back to where I'm dropping this stuff, I'm going to try and explain it as absolutely best I can, and try to remember kind of all the stuff. My wires there. I'm going to try to remember all the stuff about it. And so first of all, with the rigids, like, you can get a C1 license, which is 7.5 ton, but that's useless. You might as well go for the 32 ton, the C license, because once you get the C license, you get the C1 license automatically. And so first things first, you have to have a full car license. So the full B license, you have to have that. Then you sit a theory test, same as you did with your car. And once you pass your theory test, you can send away for your provisional license. Now, usually, if my memory serves me correct, you have to have a provisional car license for at least 6 months before you can even you have to have a car learner permit for 6 months before you can do your full test for the car, right? But with a truck, with the rigid truck, whatever, you don't. So once you get your provisional license for the truck, you can apply and do your full license as quickly as possible. It doesn't matter. But then there's this other thing called a CPC, and that's like your driver card, your driver qualification card. And the first step of actually doing the CPC is the theory test. So that's the first step. There's 3 steps to it. So, your first step is your theory test that you do for your provisional license. That's module 1 or whatever they call it. And then the second thing you have to do is actually another theory test, which is called a case studies test. So if you have that book with all the rules of the road and stuff in it, for the trucks, at the very back of it there's the case studies. There's one for the trucks, then there's one for the buses. So the case studies, I think there's 9 altogether, and but you're not given 9 in the test. I think it's just 3. And out of those 9 scenarios that's in the book, you will get 3 of those scenarios. It's not like a different scenario or anything like that. It's one of those. It's 3 of those. Like, so you have to pass the case studies, and the case studies is basically just asking you questions like, you're driving down. One of them is like something like you're driving down the road and you're carrying fruit and veg, and you take a corner too fast, and your door flies open in the back, and then a box of lettuce or something falls out the back of it. What do you do? And it gives you options as well, like, so whatever the option was. I don't remember the answers to any of them, to be honest. I have no idea. Don't even know if I'd pass it again if I took it. So you have to pass the case studies test, and once you pass the case studies test, then you have to go and you do your practical test. So the best time to do your practical CPC test, which is called a walkaround test, the best time to do that is the same time you're doing your full test. Now, I didn't, because I never booked my walk-around test the same time as my full test, because I'm a moron. So I took it a little bit later, and then had to wait for the CPC card. Well done, lad. The CPC card to come in the post, whatever. And then, so your walk-around test is basically like, you're just walking around. You're walking around the lorry, like. And now the walk around test, honest to Jay's, only takes about 10 minutes, and it's just literally like you're just asking you about, you do a walk around test every morning in your truck. So with the way I always start my walk around is, I get in, I start my engine, I put my tachograph into other work, okay? Because in the office, they want to see 8 minutes between starting the truck and actually moving away, like. So I come in and I turn on my lights, I turn on my hazard lights, and I turn on my beacons, right? So then I get out of the truck and I walk around to the front. Now I drive past my truck every morning in the car, so I always slow down and take a good look underneath it. Now if you don't have that luxury like me, what you do is when you stand in front of the truck, you take a good few steps back and you look underneath it and make sure there's no puddles under it or no coolant, no oil, nothing like that. So then I walk forward then and I open up the bonnet and I check the header tank to make sure there's coolant in it, and I check the oil to make sure there's oil in it. And then I close that down, and then I make sure there's no, or all the lights are working. So the hazards are on so I can check the indicators. The beacon's on so I can make sure they're working alright. And all the lights are on to make sure, again, all the lights are working. Then I walk around to the right hand side of the truck and I just check my mirrors, all that stuff, and check around the door. And then I walk down a bit further and just, again, it's a visual check. You're not getting down and taking the place apart to see what's going on then. I go down the whole long length of the side, make sure the side lights are working as well. Make sure the side lights are working and they're actually clean. And then I stay going and I make sure the diesel cap is tight and there's no leaking, there's no puddles under, there's no wetness, there's no nothing. Then I go down to the two rear axles and I check the wheel nut markers. Now the wheel nut markers are these two green arrows that point towards each other. They go in twos the whole way around on the wheel nuts. So if those markers are facing away from each other, that means one of the wheel nuts is loose, and that's what that's for. So I check both of them. Now you have, on these 8-wheel tippers, you have double wheels in the back, so double tires. So what I do is I stick my head in between them and I look into both of them, make sure there's no rocks or anything stuck between them, because if you have a rock stuck between your tires and you go down the road, one of them flies out from the back. If it's a bad enough rock without actually killing someone, you'll get a bulge in the tire and you eventually get a blowout. But what the worst case scenario is, you're going down the road, the tire, the stone flies out from between the wheels, strikes a car behind you, goes through it, kills someone, strikes a pedestrian, fucking kills them. Do you know what I mean? It's not worth it. Do your fucking walk around, check your wheels, check to make sure they're not loose. There's no new loose wheel nuts or nothing like that. Especially if you had a tire change recently, But I always check my tires at least 3-4 times a day, because I be on a weighbridge a fair bit, so I get a chance to check them. The next thing is, you stick your head between the two wheels and you look around. You make sure you just have a look at the suspension as well that's there. If it's like mine, it's leaf suspension, you can see if there's anything like queer or anything with it. Check your wheel nuts to make sure they're tight. Obviously the pressure of the tires, you'll know if there's a flat or anything. Then I kind of move around to the back and I make sure that the side lights at the back are working. Then I make sure that the tailgate is closed properly and there's nothing wrong with the tailgate. I give the lights a look, make sure the lights are working, the indicators are working. Again, just a general visual check right at the back as well, make sure there's nothing weird going on, nothing hanging down, nothing loose, nothing kind of anything like that. That's not broken down again. Not that same van. Is it? No. There was a van parked right there for about 2.5 weeks there recently. And I thought it was the same van back again. Broke down in the same spot. But anyways, I go around to the left hand side of the truck and I just do exactly the same thing. I check the wheel nut markers, make sure they're in line with each other and they're nothing's loose. Stick my head between the two wheels in the middle. I look in between them. Also, when I'm at the back as well, I step back a little bit so I can look between the tires again at the bottom, because when you stick your head into the wheels from the side, there's a blind spot right down at the back of the bottom of the wheels. But when you're standing at the back and you take a few steps back, you can see that gap and you can see if there's a stone in it or anything. Seriously, lads, you don't want a stone in the back of those wheels because you killed someone. You know what I mean? You'll do serious damage with one of them stones, or else you're going to do serious damage to your tires and you're going to blow out. Then so go around the left hand side of the truck and do the exact same thing the whole way back up around. Check the mirrors, check the lights, check the wheels. The air tanks and the battery box are on that side, so I make sure, obviously, I always grab the top of the battery box and pull it. No, not hard, but I give it a yank, and if it is loose or anything's wrong with it, I know straight away. The air tanks, just again a visual check, make sure if there's nothing wrong with the air tanks, the engine's going at this point, you'd hear it straight away. If there was any air leaks or anything like that, you'd hear it.